Rising from the far corners of the ocean, we are a constellation of islands who harbor immense dreams and aspirations. We are small island developing states. We honor the ocean as our lifeline, biodiversity as a great treasure. Our people thrive in harmony with nature, the heartbeat of our existence. Yet, our very homes are threatened by forces beyond our control. We are on the front line of climate change's inescapable realities. We cannot overcome this challenge alone. The actions of all nations will determine our fate. We call for universal action and support. The stakes are high, but together we can realize our bold ambitions. Through increased access to climate finance, debt relief, and sustainable investment, we can build robust, resilient, self-reliant economies, achieving true water, food, and energy security. With populations that thrive, our young innovators are charting sustainable new courses. Our success means success for all nations. This is the century of small island developing states. Together, we are trailblazing a future of resilient island prosperity. Our journey is unfolding. We count on you to join us.
The Small Island Developing States Conference is a major event where world leaders sit together with all stakeholders to address the unique challenges facing the SIDS. 10 years after the third conference in Samoa, the fourth conference was held in Antigua and has brought together leaders from 39 independent island states and 18 associate members of the United Nations Regional Commissions and other world leaders. The main aim is charting the course toward resilient prosperity.
Small island developing states are exceptional, exceptionally beautiful, exceptionally resilient, but exceptionally vulnerable. Your unique geography puts you at the mercy of climate chaos, rising sea levels, and land degradation. Climate change is an existential crisis for the entire human family, but SIDS are on the front lines. And your unique economic profile, including your reliance on imports and the cost and complexity of your supply chains, makes you extremely sensitive to global shocks. Together, let's deliver meaningful change for the people and communities of small island developing states and beyond, to the benefit of the whole of humankind.
There has been a great expression of hope. What I hope is that those expressions of hope will be translated in the developed countries actually putting resources where their commitments are. Because what has happened over the last 20, 30 years, there has been a lot of expression of goodwill. But those goodwill hasn't been translated into practical actions. And there has been a lack of financial resources committed to those development objectives. And hopefully, after this conference, there will be more dedicated resources. And I'm very grateful to the UN for agreeing on a dedicated session on sea level rise on the 25th of September as part of the UNGA this year.
La présence mauricienne aujourd'hui dans sa conférence CISA, c'est principalement pour réitérer l'urgence de la situation en ce qui concerne l'urbanisme et la développabilité par rapport avec les effets néfastes du changement climatique. Et moi, je pense qu'il y a beaucoup de thèmes qui peuvent aborder aujourd'hui autour de sa conférence-là. Il y a bien sûr des partenaires qui sont déjà présents sur place en ce qui concerne, par exemple, l'Union européenne, en ce qui concerne différents UN agencies, mais il est extrêmement important qu'il nous souligne la particularité de Bansit. Nous souligne aussi la réalité qui Bansit peut faire face. Donc, je pense que la solution, il y a une solution globale, oui, mais en même temps, il y a besoin d'une solution qui respecte la spécificité, la particularité qui va le pays représenter. Donc là, il y a plusieurs thèmes qui peuvent aborder en ce qui concerne qui va un type de financement, qui va un partenariat qui est capable de venir entre différents pays FICIDS, aussi qui va un type de partenariat aussi qui est capable de venir entre l'hémisphère sud et aussi l'hémisphère nord. Donc, sa conférence CISA, c'est une conférence extrêmement importante parce que, je pense qu'il y a une urgence en ce qui concerne les effets du changement climatique. Et moi, et moi pour répéter aujourd'hui, c'est une question de survie aujourd'hui. Il y a une urgence et il est extrêmement important aussi. Et là, je pense que beaucoup de pays CIDS fait un devoir pour rappeler devant différents forums, c'est qu'il est extrêmement important, un gros émetteur d'émissions de gaz à effet de serre, notamment toujours de respecter l'engagement et assure sa partenariat-là, donne la capacité nécessaire à un pays CIDS pour capable venir au niveau qui besoin, pour capable combattre le changement climatique.
Generating passionate meeting and discussions, the conference became a melting pot from people all over the world who are facing so much challenges and hoping for a better future for their tiny land and their people.
My main motivation for attending this SIDS meeting is to ensure that there is a fair representation of the voices of the scientific community at the SIDS meeting and from the SIDS people, so that our research can be reached to the global decision and policymakers. I think that SIDS as a whole should have a unified voice. I have been attending the side events hosted by the Pacific Islands, and I see that there is a regional coherence going on, and I would really like to see this happening at the level of the Indian Ocean and also at the level of Caribbean, so that all the SIDS countries, all the SIDS islands together, they have a voice, they have a representation. And I think that's what is being taken care of at this SIDS meeting. SIDS, we need to find out the solutions for our problem. So I would like to encourage research being heard by our policymakers back home, so that we have local solutions for our local problems. Secondly, it would be interesting to see that we have a dialogue among the islands of the Indian Ocean, so that we are on the same pace and talking the same language to funding bodies, to research institutions, and to collaborate more.
The SIDS conference created a unique opportunity for a global dialogue on sustainable development. It created a unique platform where islanders could express their voices and open their heart to the world. The time has come for global actions to mitigate the economical and ecological impact on the islands across the world. Small island developing states are facing multiple crises: climate change, the economic and social repercussions of the COVID-19, and the crisis of debt. The pandemic hugely impacted all island nations, especially those dependent on tourism. Meanwhile, climate alert is an urgent issue that affects the livelihood of island nations due to their vulnerability, and the islands are least responsible for the disruption of climate imbalance. The conference has adopted a positive and engaging document which outlines the role and responsibility of one and all for the long-term resilience of small islands. The adoption of the Antigua and Barbuda Agenda for small island developing states and for a renewed declaration for resilient prosperity is the way forward for all.
That's about us in the global town hall of the United Nations, speaking to the village, our wealth, our humanity, our planet. And hopefully here we can achieve a more fair and effective outcome, delivering on the promise that leaves no country and no one behind. I call on all of you to channel your contributions, your innovations, your ingenuity, as demonstrated over the course of the last 4 days to this convening. We must aim towards a strong and an ambitious outcome that reflects the aspirations of SIDS, which are not different to our collective aspiration for a prosperous and sustainable future. In 2025, the 4th International Conference on Financing for Development will address critical financing issues, including those that have been spoken to and are in the Abbas today. They will support the reform of the international financial architecture, and we must work towards COP29 and 30 to ensure we get the renewed ambitions of the NDCs that we seek. SIDS have set out their vision, and these again will be opportunities to take the agenda forward. Excellencies, distinguished guests, as we prepare to leave Antigua, let us remember that this conference marks the beginning of a new journey. Our responsibilities don't stop here. The Abbas must guide our efforts towards 2030. When we meet in 10 years' time, or as Ambassador from Barbados has said, maybe in shorter time, I hope that we are speaking of how the work has begun here and has made the 2030 Agenda and Paris Agreement a reality in people's lives and in the islands, the Pacific to the Caribbean, the Atlantic, the Indian, and the South China Sea. We have now paved that path to resilient prosperity for future generations. Let's try to go forward with a new sense of hope, solidarity, and determination to commit to a decade of delivery in a world where it doesn't seem so real, but in which our experience in the last 4 days here have made that hope more hopeful.
The SIDS conference also brought together stakeholders from various sectors who can bring positive changes to the world of small islands.
Well, I think the SIDS conference that we've held this week has really brought to the fore the issues of importance to small island developing states. And a lot of them are around the challenges of small island states and the impacts against them from the impacts of climate change, also economic shocks. I think the messaging that we really want to put out as small island developing states is for those developed countries to look at areas that are important to us around financing, access to concessional financing, the criteria to accessing financing now being reviewed, and the use of the multi-dimensional vulnerability index. And they can change the rules around debt. They can look at removing debt from small island developing states and allow these countries, our small countries, the ability to be able to stand on our feet and withstand not just the climate changes that we're getting, the disasters that have the ability to wipe out many years of prosperity in our countries, but the ability for us to be able to get back to levels of prosperity, to levels of what we measure development for our countries and our peoples, a measure of wellness, if you like. And wellness for us, our countries, is not a measure simply of income and of GDP, but it's a measure of quality of life, quality of education, quality of health. It's a measure of being able to live in dignity in the environments that we have that are being threatened by the impacts of climate change. So we've come, I guess we're leading the region, leading the world in a number of ways in showing what we're doing, leading the way in implementing renewable energy. Although it is at a high cost to countries like us to shift to renewable energy, we are doing this in order to demonstrate our commitment towards globally reducing carbon emissions. So for the Pacific countries in particular, I think what we've been doing and advocating now for decades in leading the way, this needs to be heard and recognized by our larger G20 countries. And the measures that we're taking ourselves to try and protect ourselves, we need these countries to recognize that and do their fair share in terms of supporting us in building resilience against the impacts of climate change that are the cause of these G20 countries.
One of the main agenda of this conference is the voice of the youth. They are the main actors for a better world. Small islands, big dreams, youth for resilience. The summit aims to empower and mobilize youths from small island developing states to address major issues such as climate change, economic vulnerability and digital transformation.
Experience is amazing, except that the weather is very hot, but everything is very great. We started out with a Children and Youth Summit since last week. We had the opportunity to bring up a project for each region, the Caribbean region, the Pacific region, and the AIS region. And the AIS region, where we come from, Mauritius, Seychelles, Sao Tome, we won the best project. We had a partnership pitch, we pitched to development sector, private sectors, and a lot of them have been willing to give us their technical support, their mentorship. Then we are having the SIDS conference, where at the same time we're having some mastership classes on how to present, how to bring a pitch, how to get money for funding. And we're also meeting a lot of partners and collaborators here at the conference.
Ici, nous devant le Commitment Wall, qui avec plusieurs des jeunes de ces différentes îles, nous finissons écrire qui nous peut commettre nous pour faire jusqu'à nous finir ici pour nous retourner à Maurice. Et le fait qu'ils me déjà committed à Maurice dans l'ONG Sauve la Nature parmi les jeunes pour la restauration, pour conservation, tout ça là. Il y a vraiment une espèce qui est vraiment priorité en ce moment, qui beaucoup de Mauriciens pas même connaissent. C'est le Amaricaulis, Iophorbe amaricaulis. C'est une espèce qui, au fait, est trouvée seule au monde. C'est un palmiste qui est trouvé seul au monde et qui le trouve à Maurice. Donc, n'importe quel état vient extinct. Il arrive là que nous, dans les jeunes, nous venons la voir pour sa plante-là, ensemble avec les autres combats qui nous permettent mener, mais ça n'a vraiment une urgency.
Young islanders are the future of their islands, and they all keep their hope alive for a better future.
I think the most important thing is to focus on our youth, because the youth is the future, and if we don't upskill our young people and get them ready for the green jobs and digital jobs of tomorrow, we will not grow, we will not progress. Economic development is just not about boosting your GDP, it's about social development, it's about environmental development. And it is very, very important that our young people are upskilled in terms of climate education, digital education, and soft skills, so that SIDS can really compete against bigger countries, and not only compete, but mitigate the climate change effects that we face and progress.
I do think that youths in SIDS are already very concerned with what's happening, but I think that they should be included more in the discussions and not just as decor, as pieces of art at the SIDS conference. I want young people in the panels, I want them heading the discussions, and I want the insights of young people not to be an option.
Et SIDS, comme on nous connaît, Small Island Developing States, mais nous comptons l'essentialité des langues. Et en ce moment de la conférence, nous finissons bien apprendre que Small Island Developing States, pas veut dire qu'il est moins powerful, mais au contraire, nous avons une place qui vraiment nous a servi en termes de bioéconomie. Nous avons un grand, vaste EEZ, an oceanic area, qui finalement nous avons large ocean state. Donc, pas besoin que nous avons nous comme petit nous été, mais vraiment d'après combien grand sa économie zone a été. Et nous avons développé une façon qui est sustainable pour l'île, mais aussi qui ne pas en compte la nature, en compte la mer.
So I think it's something that we should all work together to curb, because we are the future of the world.